Hello and welcome to Talking Music, where every song has a story. My name's Paul, and on this channel we like to get behind the story of a song with facts and information, and sometimes the odd secret as well. Today's song is You're So Vain from CARLY Simon. Now, this song was started in 1971 but had a bit of a transformation along the way, and it was recorded in the late summer of 1972. And it harbours probably the greatest secret in pop music. Who was the song all about? And that secret has lasted for decades. And CARLY, after nearly 40 years, let out one name and then went on to say the song was about not one, but three different people. And since then, she's played a cat and mouse game with journalists. CARLY Simon's music has often been autobiographical. She said the words come first, then she puts a tune to them. Work on You're So Vain started in 1971 under another title, Bless You Ben. She'd written a fair part of the song but wasn't feeling it. She was dissatisfied with her work, going down avenues that didn't feel right. As with probably all songwriters, they take inspiration from whoever or wherever they can get it. She attended a party and a famous guest arrived and her friend said, "Look at him. He looks as if he's walking onto his yacht." This image sparked CARLY's imagination, and she incorporated that image into the words of Bless You Ben. And then, with a change here and there, what she'd had took on a different meaning, and she was able to finish the song under a new title, You're So Vain. The song was now about the man, or is it men, she wanted the song to get into. When released as a single, late 1972, it added to her growing success in the States, and it became her breakthrough song in the UK. There are some strong images in the song. Horse racing in Saratoga, Lear jets, apricot scarves, hats dipped below one eye, and clouds in coffee. That last image came about on a flight when a reflection of her coffee on the table in front of her on the plane window mingled with the clouds outside, and it was difficult to actually process what was actually being seen, and CARLY used this as a metaphor to see beyond what was superficial. In an interview, she once described how charm in a man can be superficial and dangerous.
Charm is something to be kind of wary of. You know, somebody who's too charming, who really has a kind of a veneer that is just terribly seductive. Those people I'm much more cautious of, because I was taken in by so many of them in my 20s and 30s, and was so attracted to that, to that kind of superficial intelligence and wit. I don't necessarily find them so much easier to spot, but it takes me much longer to accept somebody as a friend than it used to. I mean, I used to see somebody that would appeal to me, like that. And you meet a lot of people like that in show business. There are endless people with attractive qualities. Mm-hmm. And now it takes me a long time to really, because I look further. I don't just look at the attractive qualities. Mm-hmm. I look further to see how deep it goes.
If you feel so strongly, I mean, I've had these experiences before. I was so in love with an Englishman in the late 60s who I was madly in love with, and I thought he was the love of my life. And he wrote an autobiography. Some years later, he left me. And he wrote an autobiography maybe like 15 or 20 years later, after I had become a star. I wasn't a star, I wasn't known at the time that I had a relationship with him, and so he used me in the book in the most desultory fashion. And he said the quite unattractive things about me that just stung. And I thought, how could you possibly have forgotten that we were going to get married, that we were in love, that we were completely besotted with each other, that we were turned on by each other's minds and intelligences and bodies and the whole thing, the whole 9 yards. And he wrote this cruel thing about me. That's not remembering, or that's not giving any respect to what was.
Another lyric in the song was, "You flew your Learjet up to Nova Scotia to see the total eclipse of the sun." This eclipse actually happened on July the 10th, 1972, and Nova Scotia was one of the best places to see it, which begs the question, did the gentleman tell her about it or even invite her to go along? Either way, as much of CARLY's writing has a ring of truth to it, this line was probably incorporated into the lyrics around the time of that eclipse. Another fact that slowly came out through the years was that Mick Jagger, a friend of CARLY's, appears on the song singing backing vocals, uncredited. It's not obvious at first, but when you listen, knowing he's there, it's impossible not to hear him, as he's obvious in the mix. In fact, CARLY has said he being evident on the song pushed her harder. But how does Mick Jagger appear on a Carly Simon song? Well, like most of these things in show business, it was quite informal.
I guess it was kind of chance in a way. I was in London. It was 72, I guess. And he happened to call at the studio while I was doing the background vocals with Harry Nilsson. And Mick called, and there was just a message that Mick was on the phone, and I took the call, and he said, "Hey, what you doing?" And I said, we're doing some backup vocals on a song of mine. Why don't you come down and sing with us? He said, "Okay, well, when shall I come?" And I said, "Come down now." And he came, and so Mick and Harry and I stood around the mic singing "You're So Vain." You probably think the song is about you. And Harry was such a gentleman. He knew that the chemistry was between me and Mick in terms of the singing, and so he sort of bowed out and said, "You know, the two of you have a real blend. You should do it yourselves." And that's how it happened.
So what secrets does You're So Vain harbour? Speculation through the years has been the song is about Warren Beatty, or Chris Christopherson, or Cat Stevens, or Mick Jagger, or David Bowie. The wife of an old friend is deemed to be Angie Bowie, or even her husband at the time, James Taylor. CARLY never said anything to validate these names one way or the other. Then it would seem she started having fun with it. Here's an interview from 2001.
Everybody thinks You're So Vain is about Mick Jagger.
Oh, they don't really?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Is it?
Oh, no.
And then I read it might be Warren Beatty.
Oh, you know, don't listen to what other people tell you.
Well, do you want to solve that mystery here for us?
You know, I could never solve it, because if I solved it, then no one would have anything to talk to me about.
In the 80s, Warren Beatty had phoned CARLY up and thanked her for the song. They'd had an affair before the song was written, and she'd found him charming, but you already know what she thinks about charm. So Warren Beatty believed the song was about him, and that became the common belief, and the other contenders faded into the background. In August 2003, CARLY agreed to name the subject to the highest bidder of Martha's Vineyard Possible Dreams charity auction. It was Dick Ebersol, president of NBC Sports, who won the right to know the name of the gentleman in You're So Vain. But a condition of the prize was that he had to keep the secret. He did. In the charts, this is how the song performed. In the UK, February the 3rd, 1973, it reached its peak, number 3. This was her breakthrough song in the UK. And it did rather well with sales, selling 500,000 in the UK, so it got its gold status, which is awarded to songs that sell 500,000 copies. In the US, it did better. A month before, beginning of January, it went to number 1, knocking Me and Mrs. Jones' Billy Paul off the top spot. It stayed there for 3 weeks, until Stevie came along with Superstition to knock her off. And it ended up being the 9th bestseller of the year. The bestseller was Dawn and Tie a Yellow Ribbon. But it turned gold in the States as well. And in the States you have to sell 1 million copies because it's a bigger market. And it duly sold that 1 million and turned gold in the US. It also went to number 1 in Canada, Australia and New Zealand. Among its accolades, it received Grammy nominations for Record of the Year, Song of the Year and Best Female Pop Vocal. It didn't win any of its categories, but to get nominated is still a thing. And it was indeed inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2004. You're So Vain was a single from the album No Secrets, yet to this day it's ostensibly full of secrets. CARLY has kept the mythology going. I think she's having fun with it. She disclosed that Warren Beatty is the subject, but only of the second verse. And here is that second verse, and these lyrics give you an insight into their relationship. And it looks like we're back to that notion of charm again. But there are 3 verses to the song, and she says each verse has a different subject. So that's 3 men. Warren Beatty is one, she said so. But who is Lear Jetman, and who is the guy with the apricot-coloured scarf, with the hat dipped below one eye? She has more recently, in her book Girls Like Us, categorically ruled out her ex-husband James Taylor, also Mick Jagger, but has continued her game by giving out letters belonging to a name. Still, no one is really any wiser. Then, after CARLY had said that You're So Vain is about 3 different men, she has said that when she sings You're So Vain, she's thinking about one person, and the rest of the song came from her relationship with that person. If this is the case, then this points the finger squarely at Warren Beatty. But then in 2015, when it came to promote her memoir, Boys in the Trees, she said the second verse was about Beatty, but the other verses are about 2 other men she wouldn't name. And so it goes on, and around and around.
And is there a final answer to
who is the person that's so vain?
I don't know.
Oh, stop.
It was Warren Beatty. It was Mick Jagger. It was everybody. And then, but you've never really said who it was.
Yeah.
Richard Perry, who produced the No Secrets album, has his own ideas about the song. He said it's a compilation of men that CARLY has known in her life up until then, but mostly it's Warren Beatty. Seems like the lady's not for talking. You're So Vain, Carly Simon. And this has been Talking Music, where every song has a story. Do subscribe to the channel. There's lots more to view on some of the world's best-known songs, where we get behind the music with facts, information, secrets and stories. Just click on the subscribe button and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye-bye.